Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare.
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Om He Krishna Karuna Sindhu हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कंचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदानेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। बोलो श्री राधे गोलोकानंद भगवान की
जय।
बोलो श्रीमद् भागवतम की
जय।
कृष्णा अनिल जी।
हरे कृष्णा।
सब थैंक्स गिविंग मोड में है लगता है। शुरू करते हैं अपन। सो अपन लास्ट वीक we started reading 20th chapter
जी।
और इसमें सुखदेव गोस्वामी जी परीक्षित महाराज को वृंदावन की ग्रीष्म ऋतु और वसंत ऋतु का डिस्क्रिप्शन कर रहे हैं और वो जब डिस्क्रिप्शन कर रहे हैं इट्स ऑल्सो बीइंग compared with how different behaviors occur in the world. कैसे महात्मा लोग या कैसे गृहस्थ लोग कैसे बिहेव करते हैं एंड इज बीइंग कंपेयर्ड विद द ग्रीष्म एंड वसंत ऋतु. सो दैट्स व्हाट वी आर रीडिंग राइट नाउ. तो 23वें से शुरू करेंगे अनिल जी.
जलोघैर्निराभिद्यन्त सेतवो वर्षतीश्वरे पाषण्डिनां सद्वादैर्वेदमार्गाः कलो यथा. When Indra sent forth his rains, the flood water broke through the irrigation dikes in the agricultural fields, just as in the Kali Yuga, the atheists' false theories break down the boundaries of Vedic injunctions. Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्णा. सो बारिश ऋतु की जो बता रहे हैं तो what happens the flood waters they break the irrigation dikes agricultural fields में and that is being compared to कि जैसे कलयुग में पाखंडी नाम सदुर देवेर द मार्गा है कलो यथा. Like in the Kali Yuga, the atheist theories they break down the boundaries of Vedic injunctions. They go beyond the Vedic culture. व्यमुचन्वायुर्भिर्नुन्नान् भूतेभ्यश्चामृतं घना यथा शिशो विषक्तय काले काले द्विजेदिता. The clouds, impelled by the winds, released their nectarian water for the benefit of all living beings, just as kings, instructed by their Brahman priests, dispense charity to the citizens. Right? So that nectarian water is compared with the charity given by the kings.
एवं वनं तद्वर्षिष्ठं पक्वखर्जुर जम्बुमत योगोपालैर्व्रतो रन्तुं सबलः प्राविशद्धरिः. When the Vrindavan forest had thus become resplendent, filled with ripe dates and jambu fruits, Lord Krishna, surrounded by his cows and cowherd boyfriends and accompanied by Balaram, entered that forest to enjoy. Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्णा. कृष्ण भगवान और बलराम भगवान फॉरेस्ट में एंटर करते हैं. धेनुओ मंदगामिन्य ऊधो भारेण भूयसा ययुर्भगवता हुता द्रुतं प्रीत्या स्नुतिस्तना. The cows had to move slowly because of their weighty milk bags, but they quickly ran to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As soon as he called them, their affection for him causing their udders to become wet.
वनो कसः प्रमुदिता वनराजीर्मधुच्यतुः जलधारा गिरेर्नादा दासन्ना दद्रशे गुहाः. The Lord saw the joyful virgin girls of the forest, the trees dripping sweet sap, and the mountain waterfalls, whose resounding indicated that there were caves nearby. Hare Krishna.
क्वचित् वनस्पति क्रोडे गुहायां चाभ्युहर्षति निर्विश्य भगवान् रेमे कंदमूलफलाशने. When it rained, the Lord would sometimes enter a cave or the hollow of a tree to play and to eat roots and fruits.
दध्योदनं समानीतं शिलायां सलिलान्तिके सम्भोजनीयैर्भुज भुजे गोपैः सङ्कर्षणान्वित. Lord Krishna would take his meal of boiled rice and yogurt sent from home in the company of Lord Sankarsana and the cowherd boys who regularly ate with him. They would all sit down to eat on a large stone near the water. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. श्वाद्वलोपरि संविश्य चर्वतो मिलिते क्षणान् तृप्तान् वृषान् वतस्तरान् गाश्च स्वधो भर्षमा प्रावृत्य श्रियं च तां वीक्ष्य सर्वकालसुखावहां भगवान् पूजयां चक्रे आत्मशक्तुमुपबृहिताम्. Lord Krishna watched the contented bulls, calves, and cows sitting on the green grass and grazing with closed eyes. And he saw that the cows were tired from the burden of their heavy milk bags. Thus, observing the beauty and opulence of Vrindavan's rainy season, a perennial source of great happiness, the Lord offered all respect to that season, which was expanded from his own internal potency.
एवं निवसतोऽस्मिन् रामकेशवयोर्व्रजे शरत्सम्भवद व्यभ्रा सक्षा काम्ब परुषा नीला. While Lord Ram and Lord Keshav were thus dwelling in Vrindavan, the fall season arrived, when the sky is cloudless, the water clear, and the wind gentle. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So the fall season is being described now. Sharada शरदानिर्जोत्पत्त्या नीरानि प्रकृतिं ययुः भ्रष्टानामवीव चेतांसि पुनर्योगनिषेवया. The autumnal season, which regenerated the lotus flowers, also restored the various bodies of water to their original purity, just as the process of devotional service purifies the minds of the fallen yogis when they return to it. Right? So the process of devotional service purifies the minds of the fallen yogis. Says Brashtanami va chetansi punaryog nishevaya. The yogis, they again get back to the devotional service after losing the path. That's how the lotus flowers are, and the autumnal season is compared to.
Yom no abhram bhutashabalyam bhuvah pankam malam sharajjahara shraminam krishne bhaktir yatha shubham. Autumn cleared the sky of clouds, let the animals get out of their crowded living conditions, cleaned the earth of its covering of mud, and purified the water of contamination. In the same way that loving service rendered to Lord Krishna frees the members of the four spiritual orders from their respective troubles. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, this is how the Krishna Bhaktir Yatha Shubham is compared here. I'll read the purport. Every human being must perform the prescribed duties corresponding to one of the four spiritual orders of life. These divisions are celibate student life, brahmacharya, married life. So first is the brahmacharya student life. Second is married life, which is grihastha. Third is the retired life, which is vanprastha. And fourth is the renounced life, sannyas. Yeah? A brahmachari must perform many menial duties during his student life. But as he becomes advanced in loving service to Krishna, his superiors recognize his spiritual status and elevate him to higher duties. The innumerable obligations performed on behalf of wife and children constantly harass a householder. But as he becomes advanced in loving service to Krishna, he is automatically elevated by the laws of nature to more enjoyable spiritual occupations, and he somehow minimizes material duties. Those in the Vanprastha or retired order of life also perform many duties, and these can also be replaced by ecstatic loving service to Krishna. Similarly, renounced life has many natural difficulties, not the least of which is that sannyasis or renounced men are inclined to meditate on the impersonal aspect of the absolute truth. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Klesho Dikhateras Tesham Avyakta Shakta Chetasam. For those whose minds are attached to the unmanifested impersonal feature of the Lord, advancement is exceedingly painful. But as soon as a sannyasi takes to preaching the glories of Krishna in every town and village, his life becomes a blissful sequence of beautiful spiritual realizations. So this is how these four things are compared, right? The four lives, as we know, the brahmacharya, grihast, vanprastha, and sannyas. How in all these four phases of our life, if we dedicate to Lord Sri Krishna, how the blissful enjoyment will go up, the spiritual realization will go up, is what is explained.
In the autumn season, the sky returns to its natural blue color. The vanishing of the clouds is like the vanishing of troublesome duties in brahmachari life. Just after summer comes the rainy season, when the animals sometimes become disturbed by the torrential storms and thus huddle together. But the autumn season signals the time for the animals to go to their respective areas and live more peacefully. This represents householders becoming free from the harassment of family duties and being able to devote more of the time to spiritual responsibilities, which are the real good goal of life, both for himself and his family. The removal of the muddy layer on the earth is like the removal of the inconveniences of vanaprastha life. And the purification of the water is like the sanctification of sannyas life by one's preaching the glories of Krishna without sex desire. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. सर्वस्वं जलदाहित्वा विरेजुः शुभ्रवर्चसः यथा त्यक्ते शशना शान्ता मुनयो मुक्तकिल्बिषः. The clouds, having given up all they possessed, shone forth with purified effulgence, just like peaceful sages who have given up all material desires and are thus free of all sinful propensities. Yeah. Yatha tyakte shana shanta. So Munyo, the Munis, the Rishis who have given up the material desires, what happens? Mukt kilbisha. They are free from the sinful propensities. Says when the clouds are filled with water, they are dark and cover the sun's rays, just as the material mind of an impure man covers the soul shining within. But when the clouds pour down their rain, they become white and then brilliantly reflect the shining sun, just as a man who gives up all material desires and sinful propensities becomes purified and then brilliantly reflects his own soul and the supreme soul within.
Giryo mumuchustoyam kvachinna mumuchaha shivam yatha jnanamratam khale jnanino dadate nava. During this season, the mountains sometimes released their pure water and sometimes did not, just as experts in transcendental science sometimes give the nectar of transcendental knowledge and sometimes do not. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Neva क्षीयमानं जलं गाधजलेचरा यथायुरन्वहं क्षय्यं नरा मूढाः कुटुम्बिनः. The fish swimming in the increasingly shallow water did not at all understand that the water was diminishing. Just as foolish family men cannot see how the time they have left to live is diminishing with every passing day. Yeah. So it's compared with the fish not realizing that the water is going down, right? Similarly, the kutumuda hai kutumbina hai. Yeah, we don't realize that yatha ayurun vaham kshayam, right? Every day the age is going down, right? How the time they have left to live is diminishing with every passing day. After the rainy season, the water gradually goes down, but stupid fish do not understand this. Thus, they are often stranded on the lake shores and river banks. Similarly, those infatuated with family life do not understand that the remainder of their life is constantly decreasing. Thus, they fail to perfect their Krishna consciousness and are stranded in the cycle of birth and death.
तो गजेंद्र जी, जैसे इसमें तो जो चार बातें लिखी हुई हैं,
Mhm,
तो जिनकी मृत्यु पहले हो जाती है फिर उनको तो वो आश्रम में नहीं जा पाते हैं, वानप्रस्थ और संन्यास में।
mhm.
हाँ, तो
हाँ,
उनका उनके लिए कुछ कोई तरीका है उसको पूरा करने का, या बस वहीं पे बात खत्म हो जाती है, अगले जन्म में जो
हाँ,
होगा सो देखा जाएगा?
राइट राइट. सो एक तो ये है कि
हम्म,
साइकिल ऑफ बर्थ एंड डेथ, राइट.
या
और जिनकी नहीं हो पाती है, लाइक
हम्म,
फर्स्ट लेट्स टॉक अबाउट पीपल हु आर फॉर्चुनेट टू बी हियर.
या
उसमें से भी what percentage of people are dedicated to Krishna consciousness?
हम्म,
Think about that, right?
हम्म,
There are people living up to 100 years, some people at least, right?
या
How many of those have been engaged in Krishna consciousness?
हम्म,
तो उनका क्या कहें जो लोग इतना आगे ही नहीं आ पाए. लेकिन बेसिकली व्हाट इज बीइंग मेंशन राइट इन दैट कि आपका चाहे ब्रह्मचर्य हो, चाहे आपका गृहस्थ हो, चाहे आपका वानप्रस्थ हो, या संन्यास आश्रम हो, या संन्यास वाला, तो चारों में आप जितनी कृष्ण भक्ति करेंगे योर स्पिरिचुअल
जी,
एडवांसमेंट विल कीप गोइंग अप. तो जो पहले चले आते हैं, बट इफ दे हैव डेडिकेटेड देयर लाइव्स और दे हैव done good karmas and some spiritual advancement in Krishna consciousness, तो ये तो जन्म चक्र कब से चला आ रहा है.
हम्म,
Hopefully, they will take a better birth. They will take a better birth in families which are Krishna conscious, where again he or she will get a chance to spiritually advance. So that chakra will continue,
जी,
right? So based on the previous and previous karmas of so many lives,
या
we don't
हम्म,
even know what's going on. And sometimes we think, अरे हम इतना अच्छा कर्म कर रहे हैं, इतनी अच्छी भक्ति कर रहे हैं, फिर
हम्म,
क्यों हमारे साथ हो रहा है. लेकिन this is all not just this junk, right? And who defines the good karmas and bad karmas? So many things happen with physical and mental and spiritual
या
platforms that good and bad karmas happen. So I think the most important thing is कि कलयुग में जो दिया गया है कृष्णा कॉन्शियसनेस, और जो कर सकते हैं, जितना कर सकते हैं एटलीस्ट करना चाहिए. दैट्स द मैसेज
हम्म,
बेसिकली. बट जो पहले चले गए वो भी कई जन्मों से चले आ रहे हैं, फिर से जन्म लिया.
हम्म,
होपफुली दिस टाइम दे गेट अ बेटर बर्थ and get a chance to do spiritual advancement. That's the hope, right? At the end of the day, we are all related to Krishna Bhagavan with whatever shape,
जी,
whatever
हाँ,
karmas we are in. At the end of the day, that's the thing. But our souls, जैसे भी पहले सब पिछले श्लोकों में डिस्क्राइब किया गया कि we are not able to purify like a purified
हम्म,
cloud the sun rays. We once we give up the material desires, we will be able to realize the soul is
हम्म,
right.
ठीक है जी, हाँ। गाद वारी चरास्तापमन विद अक्षरधर्कजम yatha daridraha kripanaha kutumba vyati vivichetindraya. Just as a misery, poverty-stricken person overly absorbed in family life suffers because he cannot control his senses. The fish swimming in the shallow water had to suffer the heat of the autumn sun. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. शनैः शनैर्जुः पङ्कम् स्थलान्यामं च विरुधः यथा अहं मतां धीरा शरीरादिष्वनात्मसु. Gradually, the different areas of land gave up their muddy condition, and the plants grew past their unripe stage in the same way that sober sages give up egotism and possessiveness. These are based on things different from the real self, namely the material body and its byproducts. So the sober sages, yeah, yata aham atam dhira sharira dishvana atmasu. So they give up the egotism, possessiveness, right? Maya, related to Maya, right? Because these are all related to the material body and its byproducts.
निश्चलाम्बुर्भूतुश्रणीं समुद्रः शरदागमे आत्मन्युपरते सम्यङ् मुनिभिर्परतागमः. With the arrival of autumn, the ocean and the lakes became silent. The water is still, just like a sage who has resisted from all material activities and given up his recitation of Vedic mantras. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, what is even being mentioned here? Right? Says that one recites ordinary Vedic mantras for material promotion, mystic power, and impersonal salvation. But when a sage is completely free of personal desire, he vibrates the transcendental glories of the Supreme Lord exclusively. Right? So, what is mentioned even in all these Vedas and all these Purans, right? In the Vedas especially, it's essentially a lot of mantras are mentioned to cure a lot of material things, right? Like how to do better health, better get a lot of money, how to do all those pujas and prayers and all that, where you get material advancement, right? So which is fine, but what is mentioned is once a sage is completely free of personal desire. So when there is no desire, then you don't do all these prayers which are purely for the advancement of your materialistic life, right? Then you start doing the chanting and the reading purely from the glories of the Supreme Lord exclusively, right? So you are reading the Krishna Katha from that purity of mind, the transcendental purity of mind, yeah, that you have no material requirements. So that's what happens when you start getting into more and more spiritual advancement. केदारेभ्यस्त्वपो अगृहण कर्षकाडिडसेतुभिः यथा प्राणेः स्त्रवज्ञानं तन्निरोधेन योगिनः. In the same way that the practitioners of yoga bring their senses under strict control to check their consciousness from flowing out through the agitated senses, the farmers erected strong mud banks to keep the water within their rice fields from draining out. Nice. पढ़ेंगे अनिल?
Yeah. Srila Prabhupada comments, in autumn, farmers save the water within the fields by building strong walls so that the water contained within the field cannot run out. There is hardly any hope for new rainfall, therefore, they want to save whatever is in the field. Similarly, a person who is actually advanced in self realization protects his energy by controlling the senses. It is advised that after the age of 50, one should retire from family life and conserve the energy of the body for utilization in the advancement of Krishna consciousness. Unless one is able to control the senses and engage them in the transcendental loving service of Mukunda, there is no possibility of salvation. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, especially in the one press, which is 50 to 75 years, everyone should try to do more and more transcendental loving service of Mukund, Lord Shri Krishna. Sharadarkashujam stapana bhutanama upoharat deha abhimana jambodho mukundo vrajayoshitam. The autumnal moon relieved all creatures of the suffering caused by the sun's rays, just as wisdom relieves a person of the misery caused by his identifying with his material body. And as Lord Mukund relieves Vrindavan's ladies of the distress caused by their separation from him.
Kham Shobhat Nirvegam Sharadimal Tarakam Sattva-yuktam Yathachittam Shabda Brahmartha Darshanam. Free of clouds and filled with clearly visible stars, the autumn sky shone brilliantly, just like the spiritual consciousness of one who has directly experienced the purport of the Vedic scriptures. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. As says, the clear and steady autumnal sky can also be compared to the pure heart of the devotee. The spiritual nature is always brilliant, clean, and blissful, and this spiritual nature called Vaikuntha immediately satisfies all the desires of the soul. This is the secret of Krishna consciousness. अखंड मंडलो व्योम्नि राजो दुगने शशि यथा यदुपति कृष्णो वृष्णि चक्रावृतो भुवि. The full moon shone in the sky, surrounded by stars, just as Sri Krishna, the Lord of the Yadu dynasty, shone brilliantly on earth, surrounded by all the Vishnus.
आशील्यस्य समशीतोष्णं प्रसूनवन्मामरुतं जनास्तापं जहुर्गोप्यो न कृष्णहृते चेतसः. Except for the gopis, whose hearts had been stolen by Krishna, the people could forget their suffering by embracing the wind coming from the flower-filled forest. This wind was neither hot nor cold. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. गाओ मृगा खगा नार्य पुष्णिन्य शरदा भवन अन्वियमाना स्ववृषे फलेरीशक्रिया इव. By the influence of the autumnal season, all the cows, though women and female birds, became fertile and were followed by their respective mates in search of sexual enjoyment. Just as activities performed for the service of the Supreme Lord are automatically followed by all beneficial results. Hare Krishna, Pransa.
Hare Krishna, Krishna bhai.
Yeah. पढ़ोगे?
हाँ हाँ. उद्यार्शन वृजानी सूर्योत्थाने कुमुद्बिना राजना तु निर्भया लोका यदा यथा dasyun bina nrip. O King Parikshit, when the autumn sun rose, all the lotus flowers blossomed happily, except the night-blooming kumut. Just as in the presence of a strong ruler, everyone becomes fearless except the thieves. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So here, how the different ritus, the Grishma Ritu and then the fall Ritu is compared with how different munis and the grihast and all this behaves. So that's what we are reading. That's what Sukdev Goswami ji is describing. Anilji?
Gurugramesh ग्रहणैरिन्द्रियैश्च महोत्सवैः बभो भूः पक्वशस्याढ्या कलाभ्यां नितरां हरेः. In all the towns and villages, people held great festivals, performing the Vedic fire sacrifice for honoring and tasting the first grains of the new harvest, along with similar celebrations that followed local custom and tradition. Thus, the earth, rich with newly grown grain and especially beautified by the presence of Krishna and Balaram, shone beautifully as an expansion of the Supreme Lord. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Muninda nripristha isthana nirgamyarthana prapedire varsharudha yatha siddha swapindana kala agate. The merchants, sages, kings, and brahmachari students, kept in by the rain, were at last free to go out and attain their desired objects, just as those who achieve perfection in this life can, when the proper time comes, leave the material body and attain their respective forms. It says the people who have attained the perfection in this life by following the Krishna consciousness, when the time comes, this Varsha Rudha Yatha Siddha hai Swapindana Kal Agate. When the time comes, right, they attain their respective forms. It's a nice purport we'll read, Prem.
Srila Prabhupada comments, in Vrindavan, the autumn season was very beautiful then because of the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna and Balram. The mercantile community, the royal order, and great sages were free to move to achieve their desired benedictions. Similarly, the transcendentalists, when freed from the uh, engagement of the material body, also achieved their desired goals. During the rainy season, the mercantile community cannot move from one place to another, and so they do not get their desired profit. Nor can the royal order go from one place to another to collect taxes from the people. As for saintly persons who must travel to preach transcendental knowledge, they also are restrained by the rainy season. But during the autumn, all of them leave their confines. In the case of transcendentalist, he be a jnani, a yogi, or a devotee, because of the material body, he cannot actually enjoy spiritual achievement. But as soon as he gives up the body or after death, the jnani merges into the spiritual effulgence of the Supreme Lord. The yogi transfers himself to the various higher planets, and the devotee goes to the planet of the Supreme Lord, Goloka, Vṛndāvana, or one of the Vaikunthas, and thus enjoys his eternal spiritual life. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so the people who achieve the perfection, that's how they're described. Like if he's in the Jnani Yoga, then what happens if he's a yogi doing Dhyan Yoga and all that, he advances to the higher planets. And if he's a devotee in the Bhakti Yoga, goes to the planet of the Supreme Lord, Golok Vrindavan. And thus end the purpose of the humble servants of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, to the 10th canto, 20th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam entitled The Rainy Season and Autumn in Vrindavan. Bolo Srimad Bhagavatam ki
Jai.
So, this is the 21st Adhyay, which is about the gopis glorify the song of Krishna's flute. So, we'll read for some time and then conclude. Anilji?
श्रीशुकुवाच इत्थं शरतस्वच्छजलं पद्माकरसुगन्धिना न्यविशद वायुना वातं सगो गोपाल कोऽच्युतः. Sukadev Goswami said, thus the Vrindavan forest was filled with transparent autumnal waters and cooled by breezes of perfumed with the fragrance of lotus flowers growing in the clear lakes. The infallible Lord, accompanied by his cows and cowherd boyfriends, entered the Vrindavan forest. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay.
Kusum Mitvan Rajiv Shubhish Bhrang Dwij Ku Ghustar Sharin Himdram Madhupati Ga Charayan Ga Sah Pashupal Bal Chukuch Venam. The lakes, the rivers, and hills of Vrindavan resounded with the sounds of maddened bees and flocks of birds moving about the flowering trees. In the company of the cowherd boys and Balram, Madhupati, Sri Krishna entered that forest and while herding the cows, he began to vibrate his flute. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, yeah, Venuma. So Lord Krishna starts playing the flute. Taduvraj striya sutya Venu Geetam Smarodayam Kashit Paroksham Krishnasya Swasakibhyo Anvarniyam. When the young ladies in the cowherd village of Vrij heard the song of Krishna's flute, which arouses the influence of Cupid, some of them privately began describing Krishna's quality to their intimate friends. Anilji?
तद्वर्णयितुमारभ्याः स्मरणत्यः कृष्णचेष्टितं नाशकन् स्मरवेगेन विक्षिप्तमनसो नृप. The cowherd girls began to speak about Krishna, but when they remembered his activities, O king, the power of Cupid disturbed their minds and thus they could not speak. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah.
Briha Pidam Natvar Vapu Karyanyo Karnikaram Vribhrad Vasam Kanak Kapisham Vajayanti Cha Malam Randhran Venor Dhar Sudhya Puryan Gop Vinde Vrindaranya Swapadar Man Pravishad Geet Kirti. Wearing a peacock feather ornament upon his head, blue karnika flowers on his ears, a yellow garment as brilliant as gold, and the Vajanti garland, Lord Krishna exhibited his transcendental form as the greatest of dancers as he entered the forest of Vṛndāvana. Beautifying it with the marks of his footprints, he filled the holes of his flute with the nectar of his lips, and the cowherd boys sang his glories. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So this is how Lord Krishna is being described as he enters the forest. Yeah. How is saying? Bahar apida. Like Bahar is the morpunk. So peacock feather. And then Natvar Vapu hai. So the best of the dances, like they how dancing with is entering into the forest, and Karnayo hai Karnikaram. Says the Karnikara flows on his ears. Yeah, that's on the Karn. Then Vibhrada Vasa Kanak Kapisham Vejanti Chamalam, and says a yellow garment as brilliant as gold, and the Vejanti garland, Lord Krishna exhibited his transcendental form as the greatest of dancers, yeah, as he enters the forest of Vrindavan. And again, Venor Adhara Sudhya, yeah, as he's playing the flute, what is he doing? Puryan Gopa Vrinde. Tanagran Venor Adhara Sudhya, Puryan Gopa Vrinde. And then at Vrindaranam Swapadaramnam, like his marks of the footprints. Swapadaramnam Pravishad Git Kirti. And the cowherd boys, the gops, are singing his glories. That's how Lord Krishna is described as he enters into the forest. Anilji?
इति वेणुरवं राजन् सर्वभूतमनोहरं श्रुत्वा ब्रजस्त्रियः सर्वा वर्णयन्त्यो अभिरे. O king, when the young ladies in Brij heard the sound of Krishna's flute, which captivates the minds of all living beings, they all embraced one another and began describing it. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So what is mentioned is when the flute, what happens is the flute, Venu Revam Rajan Sarva Bhut Manoharam. So when Lord Krishna is playing the flute, captivates the mind of all living beings. Sarva Bhut Manoharam. And Sri Gopyaucha Akshanvatam Phalam Nidam Na Param Vidamah Sakyah Pashununa Viveshayatorvaryasahe Vaktram Vrajes Sutiyoranuvenu Justam Yervo Nipitamanurakt Katakshmoksham. The cowherd girl said, "Oh friends, those eyes that see the beautiful faces of the sons of Maharaj Nand are certainly fortunate." As these two sons enter the forest, surrounded by their friends, driving the cows before them, they hold their flutes to their mouths and glance lovingly upon the residents of Vrindavan. For those who have eyes, we think there is no greater object of vision. As says, for those who have eyes, there is no greater object of vision. That's how the gopis are talking about Sri Krishna's flute. Nice purport. Let's read this, Prem.
The translation is quoted from Srila Prabhupada's Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela 4.155. Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur has commented as follows. The gopis meant to say, "O friends, if you simply remain in the shackles of family life in this material world, what will you ever get to see? The Creator has granted us these eyes. So let us see the most wonderful thing there is to see, Krishna." The gopis were aware that their mothers or other elder persons might hear their romantic words and disapprove, and thus they said, Ashkanvatam Phalam. To see Krishna is the goal of all persons and not simply ourselves. In other words, the gopis indicated that since Krishna is the supreme object of love for everyone, why couldn't they also love him in the spiritual ecstasy? According to the Acharyas, a different gopi spoke this and each of the following verses through text 19. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anilji?
च्युतप्रवालबर्हस्थ बकोत्पलाब्जः मालानुप्रप्तपरिधान विचित्रवेशो मध्ये विरेजतरुलं पशुपालगोष्ठ्यां रङ्गे यथा नटवरो क्व च गायमानो. Dressed in a charming variety of garments upon which their garlands rest, and decorating themselves with peacock feathers, lotuses, lilies, newly grown mango sprouts, and clusters of flower buds, Krishna and Balaram sings forth magnificently among the assembly of cowherd boys. They look just like the best of dancers appearing on a dramatic stage, and sometimes they sing. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. गोप्यः किमाचरदयं कुशलं श्ववेनु दामोदराधरसुधामपि गोपिका नाम भुक्तेष्वं यद्विश्वस्तरसं हृदिन्यो ऋषत्वचो अश्रुमुश्चुस्तरवो यथार्याः. My dear gopis, what auspicious activities must the flute have performed to enjoy the nectar of Krishna's lips independently and leave only a taste for us gopis, for whom the nectar is actually meant. The forefathers of the flute, the bamboo trees, shed tears of pleasure. His mother, the river on whose bank the bamboo was born, feels jubilation, and therefore her blooming lotus flowers are standing like hair on her body. Right? So the gopis are talking to each other and they are comparing like how fortunate the flute is, right? How fortunate the flute is, what activities, what auspicious activities the flute have performed. So it's enjoying the nectar of Krishna's lips. Damodar Adhar Sudhamapi. Yeah, it's enjoying the nectar of Krishna's lips. And of course, then he's saying that bamboo trees, forefathers, are also now shedding tears of pleasure. And mother, of course, is feeling jubilation. So that's how they are comparing the flute and how fortunate the flute is. In a nice purpose. Prem.
This translation is quoted from Srila Prabhupada Chaitanya Charitamrita Antya Leela 16.140. In the guise of releasing flowing sap, the bamboo trees are actually trying tears of ecstasy upon seeing their child become an exalted devotee. flute of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Chaitanya Goswami gives an alternate explanation. The trees are crying because they are unhappy at not being able to play with Krishna themselves. One may object that the trees in Vrindavan should not lament, for which is impossible for them to obtain, just as a beggar certainly doesn't lament because he is forbidden to meet the king. But the trees are actually just as intelligent persons who suffer when they cannot obtain the goal of life. Thus, the trees are crying because they cannot get the nectar of Krishna's lips. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anil?
Vṛndāvanam saki bhuvo vitanoti kirti yad devaki sutpadambu jalabdhali lakshmi govinda venu munu matta mayur natyam prekshadri sanvad varatanya samasta sattvam. O friend, Vrindavan is spreading the glory of the earth, having obtained the treasure of the lotus feet of Krishna, the son of Devaki. The peacocks dance madly when they hear Govinda's flute, and when other creatures see them from the hilltop, they all become stunned. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so what is described is Govinda Venu Mun Mattam Mayura Nityam. Yeah, how the peacocks start dancing when they are hearing. And then what is mentioned is Vrindavan is spreading the glory of the earth by having obtained the treasure of the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna. Devaki Sutam Pada Ambuja Labd Lakshmi. Yeah, the feet of Krishna's treasure is in Vrindavan. I think again, let's read this.
Srila Sridhar Swami explains that because activities such as those described in this verse do not occur in any other world, the earth is unique. In fact, the earth's glories are being spread by wonderful Vrindavan because it is the place of Krishna's pastimes. The name Devaki also refers to Mother Yashoda, as stated in the Brihad Vishnu Puran. Dve namami nanda bharyaya Yashoda Devakiti cha ata sakhyam adbhutasya devkya sauri janana. The wife of Nanda had two names, Yashoda and also Devaki. Therefore, it was natural that she, the wife of Nanda, developed friendship with the Devaki, the wife of Sauri, Vasudev.
Anil?
Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains Krishna Leela as follows. In Vrindavan, the peacocks request Krishna, Govind, please make us dance. Thus Krishna plays his flute, and they surround him in a circle and dance in time with the rhythm of his melody. And while standing in the midst of their dancing, he also sings and dances. Then those peacocks who are fully satisfied with his musical performance, out of gratitude, offer for his pleasure their own divine feathers. In the usual manner of musical performance, Krishna gladly accepts these presentations and places a feather upon the turban atop his head. Gentle animals such as deer and doves greatly relish the transcendental entertainment presented by Krishna, and to get a good view, they flock to the peaks of hills. Then, as they watch the breathtaking program, they become stunned in ecstasy. Srila Sanatana Goswami comments that because in Vrindavan Krishna goes barefoot and can thus directly mark the earth with the symbols of his lotus feet, that transcendental land is even more glorious than Vaikuntha, where Vishnu wears slippers. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So I think we'll pause here. Yeah, we'll pause here. I think it's a Thanksgiving week. Everyone is in the holiday mood. But we'll hear a nice Radhe Govind Kirtan. Yeah, which is around 10 to 11 minutes.
Okay.
This is from Kripaluji Maharaj, Radhe Govind.
गोविंद गोविंद राधे राधे गोविंद 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 राधे निज चरण कमल की लगन लगा दे निज चरण कमल की लगन लगा दे निज चरण कमल की लगन लगा दे निज चरण कमल की राधे लगन लगा दे राधे लगन लगा दे राधे गोविंद राधे ओ राधे गोविंद राधे तेरी लगन में मेरो मन मगन बना दे तेरी लगन में मेरो मन मगन बना दे ओ राधे गोविंद 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 राधे तू है दीन बंधु मोही दीन बना गोविन्द राधे राधे गोविन्द 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 राधे निज अधम उदाहरण विरद निभा दे निज अधम उदाहरण विरद निभा दे बिनु हेतु कृपा को रूप दिखा दे बिनु हेतु कृपा को रूप दिखा दे राधे गोविन्द राधे राधे गोविन्द राधे तू कृपालु कृपा बिनु मोल लुटा दे तू कृपालु कृपा बिनु मोल लुटा दे राधे गोविन्द राधे राधे गोविन्द राधे राधे गोविन्द राधे राधे गोविन्द राधे राधे गोविन्द 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 राधे राधे गोविन्द 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 राधे राधे गोविन्द राधे राधे गोविन्द राधे श्रीमद् सतगुरु सरकार
की जय। बोलो श्री राधे गोविंद भगवान की
जय।
जय।
वेरी नाइस ब्लिसफुल भजन। सो गुड। मैं सोच रहा था अभी थैंक्स गिविंग वीक में आई थिंक एवरीवन इज बिजी आई गेस। तो पॉज करना है थैंक्स गिविंग के लिए एंड देन वी कैन रीस्टार्ट।
जैसी जैसी सबकी मर्जी है, आप जैसा देखें। हमें तो कोई ऑब्जेक्शन नहीं है दोनों में से। हाँ।
आई थिंक सबके बच्चे आए हुए हैं और सब लोग।
हाँ, लोग वहाँ चले जाते हैं, 4 दिन का वीकेंड मिल जाता है,
हाँ
आसपास में फैमिलीज हैं तो।
मुझे
हम्म,
तो मेरे ख्याल से पॉज कर देते हैं मेरे
ठीक है।
ख्याल
हाँ
से
हाँ, कर
ना।
दीजिए।
तो कल का भी और फिर मंडे ट्यूसडे कमिंग मंडे ट्यूसडे।
ठीक
तो
है।
मंडे को पहले अपन भगवत गीता करने वाले थे दिसंबर 1 एक्चुअली गीता
हाँ
जी।
हाँ, गीता करने वाले थे ना आप।
हाँ so we'll probably change it to maybe Monday after that 7th
ठीक है।
December कर देंगे।
ओके।
Maybe everyone is back from vacation and all that
हम्म।
so I think तो हम लोग थोड़ा पॉज करते हैं and
ठीक है।
then we'll start on um, 8th
8th
December।
या
8th December अभी ऐसा हॉलीडे टाइमिंग्स है एक्चुअली।
या फिर क्रिसमस आ जाएगा भी।
क्रिसमस आ जाएगा बट ठीक है इसलिए जितना हो सकता है कर रहे हैं बट
जी।
दैट्स फाइन।
ठीक है।
We'll see you back on December 8th।
ओके।
भजन कीर्तन चलते
ऑलराइट।
रहे और क्या।
ऑलराइट या। ओके। हरे कृष्णा।
हरे कृष्णा।
हरे कृष्णा।